Good evening, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports, another football video, and today I'm going over my Week 13 predictions for the 2022 NFL season. I do predictions on the channel every single week. This week has probably some of the most important games of the season so far for playoff positioning, so I'm really excited about this one. Let's get right into it. First off, we have the Week 12 recap. This was suggested to me to do recaps by a channel member, so I've been doing recaps at the beginning of every prediction video. Last week I did pretty well, not quite as good as the week before, but pretty okay. I got the Bills game right, I got the Cowboys game right, and I got the Vikings game right for Thanksgiving. My Cowboys score was pretty much on the dot. I was 1 point off on the Cowboys. Giants score was the same. The Vikings-Patriots game, I thought it was going to be a close game. It was. It was the difference between us running into the kicker and us not running into the kicker. I had the points wrong, though, and then I had the Bills beating the Lions by 4. They beat them by 3. So pretty good scores for the Thursday Night Football games. Then we move on to Dolphins-Texans, which I got pretty much on the dot as well. They took Tua out in the third quarter, so the Dolphins didn't get to 43, but if he stayed in, they probably would have continued to score. I have the Jets beating the Bears 30-29, which was good for the Jets score. The Bears score, I did not know Justin Fields wasn't playing. If Justin Fields played, it probably would have been a closer game. The Bears probably would have had more than 10. But because he wasn't playing, that score was a little off. Ravens-Jaguars, I got that game completely wrong. Jacksonville, I got the Ravens score right, but the Jacksonville Jaguars offense really looked impressive in that game. This is one of the multiple impressive games that they've had this season, so they do look like they could be promising next year. Titans-Bengals, I got that game wrong as well. Although I got the Bengals score pretty close, I underestimated the Titans' abilities to score. Derrick Henry had that one big long run that ended up resulting in a touchdown, but other than that, the Titans really got no offense going. Derrick Henry averaged, I think, 2 yards a carry. Overall, not a great offensive day by Tennessee. The Buccaneers, I had beating the Browns 33-20, and that clearly didn't happen. I had the Commanders beating the Falcons 23-16, another score where I was almost on the spot. I was about a field goal off for both teams. Broncos, I had them beating the Panthers 19-16. That one was way off. Chargers, I had beating the Cardinals 37-20. It was a lot closer than it needed to be for the Chargers and their offense. Didn't look as good as I thought it would be with Keenan Allen back. The Rams-Chiefs score I had as a joke, but I did get the game right. Seahawks-Raiders, I had the Seahawks beating the Raiders by 7. They ended up losing by 6. So I was close on. I knew that it would be a close game. I knew the Raiders would stay in offensively. I did not expect Josh Jacobs to have 300 scrimmage yards. Niners-Saints, I expected the Niners to win, but I didn't expect the Saints and the Niners offense to both look fairly pedestrian, other than 13 points scored by the 49ers. And then I predicted an upset for Packers versus Eagles. The Packers offense did look a lot better than it has a lot of weeks, and I got their score right, but I underestimated the amount that the Eagles can just continue to pile it on when they need to. First off, for this week's predictions, I have the Patriots beating the Bills 27-23. This might be hopium. I picked the Vikings last week. I thought that was a realistic pick. I think that this is a realistic pick, looking at how our offense played last week and considering the fact that I think that we played like a better team than the Vikings did last week. The biggest issues were there was bad calling for the majority of the game, and we ran into the kicker, which gave them a new drive and 7 points. If we didn't run into the kicker, we would have ran the clock down, maybe got a field goal or a touchdown, and I think the defense would have stepped up. I think we have a decent chance against the Bills. I think that we are a pretty good team for 6-5. 1 o'clock games, we have Eagles versus Titans. It's also a home game. We have Eagles versus Titans. We have Ravens, Broncos. We have Packers, Bears, Lions, Jaguars, Washington versus the Giants, Steelers, Falcons, Browns, Texans, and Vikings, Jets. Big matchups this week. Eagles, Titans. That's one of the biggest ones. Eagles are fighting to keep the 1 seed. If they lose one game, it's not going to be a big deal, but they do have a lot of divisional games left, and they have a strong division, and one game could turn into 2, 3, or 4. So right now, that Tennessee game is important for both teams because the Titans, not really in danger of missing out on the playoffs, but they could be missing out on the 2nd seed. They're currently falling, I think, either to the 3rd or the 4th seed, and if they lose another game, they'll definitely be in the 4th seed. Ravens, Broncos, big game for the Ravens. They need a bounce-back win after the Jaguars game, and if they lose to the Broncos, the Ravens' offense hasn't looked amazing the last few weeks, and if they lose to the Broncos, whose defense has been pretty consistent, then that would be a bad look for them and their season. And they would, even with the Bengals' extremely hard schedule, the Bengals would probably be favored to win the division after that type of a loss. Packers versus Bears. I have the Packers winning 31-20. I don't know who the quarterback for the Packers or the Bears is going to be for next week, so this game is kind of a Hail Mary. I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen in this game. I'm just not even going to try and commentate on it. I think the Packers team is a little more consistent overall. That's all I can say. I had the Lions beating the Jaguars 37-25. I think Detroit's offense is going to continue to maul teams. I think that the Jaguars' defense won't be able to keep up. And I think their offense will put up points, but not quite as many as they need. I have Washington beating the Giants 24-10. That's not the score that I predicted. I have no idea what I was supposed to predict, but I'll say 24-20. I have a lot of teams losing with 20 this week. I think that that's going to be one of the magic numbers. That's always the magic number, but I think Washington will be able to pull out the win over the Giants. Maybe I had 24-17. I'm not sure, but it wasn't 24-10. I think that Washington's win streak with Taylor Heineke is going to bring them some energy against the Giants team that hasn't looked amazing over the last few weeks. Losing to the Cowboys last week. They'll be wanting a win this week, and it will be a home game. I think that Washington, coming off of a 4-game winning streak, is going to be able to get it done in New York. I have the Steelers beating the Falcons 24-19. With TJ Watt back, I think that the Steelers are a threat to win games. Obviously, they can't make the playoffs, but I think that they'll be a threat to win some games, maybe potentially be a spoiler. As for the Falcons, are fighting for the 1 seed in the NFC South, or the 4 seed in the NFC. Then the Steelers could play spoiler against the Falcons. I have the Browns beating the Texans 35-19. This is a huge game because Deshaun Watson is going to be back. They did beat the Buccaneers last week without him. I have them scoring 35 points with him. It's his first week back, and I think that they're going to use him a lot, and the Texans' defense is bad. I don't see them taking the Deshaun Watson out in the middle of the game like the Dolphins did with Tua, because they're going to want to play him and get him acclimated to the game. I think that it'll be slow in the first half, but I think that in the second half that they're going to explode. Or the other flip side is that the Browns lose this game because Deshaun Watson hasn't played football in 2 years, and he looks really bad. So we'll see. And then I have the Vikings beating the Jets 40-30. I think that the Vikings have a better overall team than the Jets. That being said, I think that Mike White is going to have a great game, and the Vikings offense is going to be able to outlast them in an offensive shootout. I think that Mike White, I don't know, I'm not going to say for sure if he's the solution for the Jets, but he definitely looks a lot better than Zach Wilson ever has in any game with the Jets. He looked good last year, although his record wasn't great, and he's looking good again this year. At 4 o'clock, I have the Dolphins beating the 49ers. I have the Seahawks beating the Rams. I have the Raiders beating the Chargers. And I have the Chiefs beating the Bengals. This has to be the most important slate, 4 o'clock games we've had all season and probably for the rest of the year. Chargers, Bengals, Chiefs, Niners, Dolphins, and Seahawks are all in the playoff runnings. 2 of these are divisional games. Chiefs-Bengals was a massive game last year to decide who ended up getting the 1 seed. Kansas City lost that game, and the Titans got the 1 seed. This year, if the Bengals win this game, and then they're in it for the 1 seed. If the Bengals win this game, then they've just beaten Tennessee and the Chiefs, and they're in it for the 1 seed. If the Chiefs win this game, then and the Ravens win the game that they're supposed to win, the Bengals are a game behind in their division again, and the Chiefs are not locking up the 1 seed, but they're getting very close to having a secure lead over that 1 seed. Dolphins, I have beating the 49ers 30-27. It's going to be a close game. I think that both of these teams are on the cusp of being Super Bowl contenders, and whoever wins this game is going to be solidified as a Super Bowl contender. The Dolphins haven't beaten a legitimate team since Tua's return, and this will be a legitimate team for them to mark up on their victory score. I have the Seahawks beating the Rams. I think that the Rams will put up a fight since it's at home, but this is a must-win game for Seattle if they want to continue keeping their wild card spot and fighting for their division. And have the Raiders beating the Chargers, as this is in Vegas. The Raiders have looked good the last 2 weeks. Their offense is starting to gel. Josh Jacobs is playing extremely well, and I think that they could get the win at home with the Chargers caught lacking, as their offense has not looked as good as a lot of people expected it to the last few weeks. Sunday night, we have the Colts versus the Cowboys. I have the Cowboys winning 34-25. I think that this will be a interesting game from both sides. I think that Matt Ryan's going to have a good game, but ultimately I think that the Cowboys are just that much – they're just so much better of a team. They're not even in the same league. Matt Ryan could have an amazing game, and Jonathan Taylor could have an amazing game, and the Cowboys could still win. I think that it's going to be 34-26 to 25. The Colts are going to go for a 2-point conversion. They're going to miss it, and that's how we're going to end up with 25. 9-score game, or 9-point game, 2 scores. I think that's going to be a close Sunday Night Football game, but the Cowboys will get the win pretty handily. And last but certainly not least, we have Buccaneers-Saints on Monday night. I have the Buccaneers winning this one, as this is for the division. If the Buccaneers lose, the Saints, I don't know if they'll I don't think they'll get the 1 spot in the division, but the Saints will be back in the race, and Tampa will potentially lose the 1 seed to the Falcons if the Falcons win their game. So, crazy games this week. Super excited. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Huge shout out to Quinn Lacey for supporting the channel with a channel membership.